Cancer changes a person for, not for the better or for the worse, but completely changes them. Uncertainty is a guarantee in life, just like death and taxes. I've learned to live with it through making sure that I am physically and mentally prepared for these things. Having good relationships, making sure that I'm eating well, hydrating, sunlight, community, making sure that I do something called practice suffering. I do a lot of endurance activity where I'll run and cycle. I was diagnosed in November of 2018. So before my diagnosis, I had moved to a new city, Houston, from Southern California. I came here starting a new role in the pharmaceutical industry in bladder cancer. So kind of coincident that I ended up getting cancer. I had started a new family. I had recently started a new career, built a new home. So everything that basically happened right after that was a huge shock for me. So symptoms were not very prevalent. Just drops of blood in the stool. Very hardly noticeable, actually. I went in to see my PCP and they brushed it off as hemorrhoids. And I kind of didn't accept that explanation. I was like, no, this is constantly coming back. So I pushed for blood work and a CT scan. The PCP still brushed me off and said it was hemorrhoids. I then thought, well, maybe this had to do something with my autoimmune issue. I have spondyloarthritis, and I've had it for close to about a decade, 2 decades now. So I go in to see my rheumatologist and I tell him my symptoms, and he tells me that this has nothing to do with that, and he referred me to a gastroenterologist, which later scheduled a colonoscopy for me. And getting the diagnosis is interesting just because you're waking up from a colonoscopy, so you're somewhat drugged up. I was not expecting cancer. So it was more just shock factor, and it took some time to process. I was diagnosed with originally stage 3 neuroendocrine carcinoma of the rectum, and then it later progressed to stage 4. I didn't really know the severity of everything until I got my pathology. When I finally got my pathology, I did what everybody does when they get diagnosed with cancer, is basically go to Dr. Google. And all the literature I was reading was really bad. Very short-term survival, very low percentage of survival rates past 5 years. Not enough treatments. I was basically just thinking, well, I need to do everything humanly possible that I could do to increase my chances of survival. I would be accountable for my mental, my physical health, what I put in my body, how much I moved, and everything beyond that, just because we could easily just fall within that trap where we just do nothing. And that just wasn't for me. I've been through 9 different lines of treatment. So my first line was carboplatin and etoposide. The next one after that was 25 rounds of radiation and capecitabine. The next one after that was Folfox. The next one after that was Folfiri. Following that, I had a 18-hour surgery that left me with a permanent ostomy, double ostomy actually, a urostomy and a colostomy. Even after 18 hours, the surgeons weren't able to get everything. I had 4 surgeons and a radiation oncologist, and they told me that we needed to bring me back in 3 months later to get the residual tumors that they couldn't get in surgery. So we did a liver ablation after that, and thinking, okay, I have some breathing room. 2 months after the liver ablation, I had recurrence in my liver again. So we had some biomarker testing done on my tissue and my blood, and we found that I had a genetic mutation called ATM, which was great because this is typically seen in breast cancer patients. And that opened the doors of clinical trials for me because I exhausted all standard of care for the treatment for my type of cancer. So I've been through 4 clinical trials. The hardest thing about survival is every drug that I jump on is a new accumulation of side effects that are lifelong. And then at the same time, the mental gymnastics of needing to basically jump on another drug, having the hope, having the anxiety, and understanding that to stay alive, I have to basically repeat this in a perpetual state of deja vu. People think that once I have stability with my disease, I could go back to being the old me, which is impossible because cancer changes a person. It definitely helps that I already had a desire to be physically fit. When I was initially diagnosed, there were days where I couldn't even get out of bed. And just brushing my teeth or getting out of bed was probably the hardest thing to do. But there was also times where at some point when you're doing chemotherapy, you're on high-dose steroids, which gives you pretty bad insomnia. And I knew that I'm a type of person that I can't sit still, so I would just walk. And it just started as walking around my room, walking around the house, and then it progressed to walking around the neighborhood. Weird times of the day too. And then later, my dad shipped me a road bike where I started riding my bike around the neighborhood, and the distances just kept getting longer. I never liked running, which is kind of funny. I've always viewed running as punishment because when I played sports, they would always... The consequences of doing something bad or not doing something correctly was to run a lap. So I ran a mile and I was okay with it, and I hated it, but at the same time, I practiced the suffering part, so I would continue increasing my mileage. I heard about the term ultramarathons. So I decided to sign up for an ultramarathon, which is just this 50K for the Brazos Bend 50. I started running in early January, and then the Brazos 50 was beginning of April. So technically just 3 months into running, and I signed up. It was basically the most painful experience of my life. Those moments where I was suffering, where I hated life, taught me a lot about myself because I didn't want to give up, but I also really hated the fact that I was going through it. And it was a great reflection as well as introspection of what an individual goes through with cancer. Because in the very beginning, they're very excited. They're very determined to do the race. And they will automatically say, I'm going to do whatever is necessary to finish this. But there are a lot of people that don't finish the race. And I view it in cancer as well, because in the very beginning of a cancer diagnosis, you're willing to do everything. But until you go through the drugs, the treatment, the physical pain, the psychological pain, and then when you're hurting so badly, you think to yourself, can I get through this? And it's a great comparison to me. The upcoming one I have is the Houston Marathon. My main goal for that event was to raise money for a cancer organization. And the other part is one of my friends, Victor, this is his first marathon. So my only goal is to get him across the finish line because it's his first marathon. I could care less about my time. It's one of those things where it's like, if I could help someone do something that they want to do, I'm happy. A lot of people don't believe I have cancer because they're like, you can do a lot more than me. I always tell people I didn't start here. I was like, I couldn't get out of bed when I was first diagnosed. So this is 7 years of consistent work. But at the same time, 7 years of having no excuses. I would say initially I was very angry about my body. But at the same time, I was looking back at my lifestyle habits as well. I looked healthy, but inside, I probably wasn't healthy just because I was young. I had great metabolism. But when I look back and reflect, I was like, I didn't have the greatest habits. I would binge drink, I would binge eat. I'd stay out late. Cancer has also been the ultimate teacher because it has really narrowed my focus on what's important, where some people never realize or understand the importance of what is important in life. They think about what others think about them. They think about keeping up with the Joneses. They think about their superficial image to others, where I no longer care about that. I dress like a bum now. I don't care if I have a stain on my t-shirt when I'm out. I will speak my mind if I don't like something. I care about my physical and mental health. I care about doing good and service. And then I also really care about making the next person that gets diagnosed with cancer make their journey less shitty. I volunteer for a lot of different organizations. A lot of it in the advocacy space, where it's mental health, social and emotional support for men. Going through cancer as a male is very difficult because men tend to isolate once they have a disease like this. Majority of the time, I see when men get cancer, their spouses or partners basically take the helm and do all the research, understand all the information, and the man is basically, they have their head dug into the dirt, dug into the sand, and they know nothing about their disease. Before, I was like, I was your typical man. And now I've accepted and understood the fact that being able to talk about my emotions freely has been a game changer in my life. I went to a retreat called Gathering of Wolves, and I saw community there where I saw 100+ other men sharing their feelings and their anxieties, and seeing that there's no judgment. Being able to see that and experience that and see that there is no judgment and fear of being ostracized and isolated into a different group was empowering. It validated that everything I was going through sucked. And when I got a taste of that, I wanted to continue that. I wanted to be able to provide that to other men that I basically come across my journey. I've become a Man Up to Cancer has been a large part of my advocacy, where they have helped me understand the role and benefit of what this can do for a person in their journey. I am part of the leadership team at Man Up to Cancer, and one of my roles is to ensure that men of color are seen in this equation, where majority of the time men of color are diagnosed at a later stage in life. They are less likely to seek out these resources, and their prognosis and time of survival is shortened. And I am making sure that I change that. I put in the effort where I'm trying to reach to as many men of color as possible, as well as AYAs, because AYAs, which is adult young adolescents, is a very complex part of that equation for health systems, because they have never seen this many young population getting cancer. It took me years to want to share my story because I was very private. But over time, I found that it's a healing process in itself. But at the same time, it gives a voice to other patients like myself, because over time, I understood the fact that there aren't many people with my specific diagnosis telling their story or advocating for the disease. Majority of the people that have my diagnosis are struggling to survive. We don't have a voice. And over time, I found out that not having a voice equates to not having research dollars. When I was initially diagnosed, I was a father, I was a brother, I was a son, I was a provider. I no longer look like what I used to look like. I had to change careers multiple times. I had to rewrite what my skill set was. At the same time, I had to also surrender to the fact that life will never be what it used to be. And when I finally accepted that, things got better.
Thanks for watching. If you were moved by this video, we invite you to continue by watching this video here on your screen. Also, please subscribe to the patient's story right here so you can stay up to date on our videos. Our goal is to help humanize cancer and help you feel less alone.